Yeah.
All right, so we're good. Terrific. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Councilwoman Monica Rodriguez, and welcome to the Public Safety Committee meeting for Tuesday, August 11th, 2020. Mr. Clerk, if you please call the roll.
Say again. Call the roll.
Please.
Councilmember Rodriguez.
Here.
Councilmember O'Farrell.
Present.
Councilmember Buscaino. Councilmember Rue. Councilmember Lee.
Present.
Okay, ma'am, that's the roll.
Okay, so we have, I know Mr. Buscaino will be joining us shortly, and Mr. Rue as well. So, Mr. Clerk, if you would please announce the call-in information for members of the public who wish to speak on today's agenda.
Very good. To offer public comment for the meeting, for the items listed on the agenda, please call 1-669-254-5252 and use meeting ID number 161-586-7607, and then press the pound key. Also, you'll need to press it once more, the pound key again, when prompted for the participant ID. Thank you.
Thank you. And let's go ahead and give it a moment to allow any public speakers to join. So, public speakers. Public speakers? Okay.
Madam Chair, I'm present. Sorry for the delay.
Thank you, Mr. Buscaino.
Is anyone else having hearing the chair? Yes, I am. You might want to check your audio, Madam Chair.
Okay, hold on. Can you guys hear me now?
Much better, ma'am.
It's better. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So we have a speaker in the queue for general public comment. Terrific. Speaker, please state your name and the items you'd like to speak on.
Hi, yes, this is Cheryl Cashman. I'm calling about general public comment. Hello?
Go ahead, you have 1 minute for general public comment.
We need this committee to address the illegal firework issue. I don't understand after your first meeting back after July 4th.
Now, you're going to continue your general public comment. You should probably turn down your audio device. Speaker, are you still there? I think we lost that speaker, so we'll go ahead and take our next. Hi, speaker. Please state your name and the items you'd like to speak on.
My name is Camilo. I would like to speak on item number 7, item number 8, item number 9, general public comment.
Okay, so you'll have 2 minutes for those multiple items and 1
Thank you. With regards to item number 7, I I don't like the idea of the chief of police recommending to our police board commissioner to simply just approve $1.5 million as his only recommendation when he sends his line items to them for review. I mean, in that budget, there's $40,000 to Michelle Moore for travel expenses in the year of a pandemic, and considering that he's already wildly overpaid and double dipping to his pension, I don't see why our police commissioners and our public safety committee would just rubber stamp $1.5 million to LAPD in a time when we're trying to reimagine public safety, and also be very fiscally responsible considering the budget crunches that we have due to COVID. So I strongly urge the committee to use their immense power to hold the police budget to account and to actually look at the line items and to make sure that our police board of commissioners isn't just rubber stamping things for the chief of police, but actually, using some sense of impartiality. I mean, I'm not even going to finish that sentence. It sounds too ridiculous for me to even say. But with regards to line item 8, I would like to remind all the members here that the officer who killed Daniel Hernandez is the daughter of the LA Police Protective League director, and that she has shown absolutely no remorse for her crimes, and that she's actually back out on the force and back out on Instagram posting about how much she loves her guns. So not only do I think we need an independent review of this murder in cold blood of a neighbor here in Los Angeles, but I also think that we need to just straight up defund the police. But moving on to item number 9, we actually were, LA Times just reported today that an officer has been arrested and charged for fondling a dead woman's breast. And his partner was there with him. So pure intervention, small measure reforms like these aren't going to work with our police department. They can't even stop themselves from fondling a dead woman's breast. So I think also our public safety committee really needs to look at the role of our officers and what they're doing to not reform the department, but reimagine public safety and get these violent monsters off of our streets and off of our dead women. I mean, holy shit. And in regards to general public comment, I would just like to remind everybody on this committee that you don't have to be white to uphold liberal white supremacy, and that's what all of you dumb motherfuckers are doing every single day in the city. All of you guys are useless pieces of shit. All of you guys are sellouts, and none of you guys should ever be able to sleep peacefully ever again. Fuck all of you.
Okay. Caller, please state your name and the item you'd like to speak on.
Hi, my name is Gina Viola, and I'd like to speak on items number 9, 8, and general public comment, please.
Thank you. You have 2 minutes for those items.
Okay. So item number 9, pure intervention. I've sat in LA Police Commission meetings for the years and heard the chief himself that he holds his officers absolutely accountable to these standards already. This is just an empty gesture to quell the public outcry about police brutality and murder. Where was the pure intervention for Daniel Hernandez? The video I saw had officers in the background telling the shooter what to say to make it yet another in-policy killing. It's extremely difficult to comment on this before I even get to hear your discussion about it. Item number 8, while I am grateful for an outside body reviewing the murder of Daniel Hernandez by the daughter of the president of the LA Protective League, what does it say about this committee, the City Council, and the Oversight Commission itself that an independent review of a fatal shooting must be conducted by the state's attorney? It is an admission that this committee, this City Council, nor the Police Commission are capable of holding the LAPD accountable. Let's start with this committee. Councilmember Rodriguez, you have shown you answer only to the LA Protective League themselves, as they can summon you to an underground meeting in the midst of a pandemic and uprising. Councilmember O'Farrell, you use the LAPD as your personal henchman to terrorize the houseless in your district, as well as LASA workers attempting to do some good. Councilmember Buscaino, you are a cop, so there is absolutely no hope at accountability there. Councilmember Lee, your district is where career cops themselves reside, your constituents. And Councilmember Rue, you've co-opted the people's budget language on your website, yet I see absolutely nothing on this agenda moving any of what you purport to be your plan forward. Your website indicates that there are steps we can take right now. This committee and the City Council as a whole are derelict in your duties as oversight of the most murderous police force in the country. The county is leaving you in its dust as it truly takes steps to answer the calls to defund law enforcement. Thank you.
Okay, and hi, speaker, please state your name and the item you'd like to speak on.
Hi,
Hello?
hopefully this works. This time I got cut off last time.
Okay.
This is Cheryl Kaplan, General.
Okay,
Hello?
we'll give you 1 minute for general public comment. Go ahead.
We need this committee to address the illegal fireworks issue. The fact that we've had numerous amounts of fireworks this year, and our first meeting back, you guys don't have illegal fireworks on your agenda. This city needs a fireworks social host ordinance to hold people accountable. Property owners should be held responsible for fireworks that are being used on their properties. That one ordinance alone can go a long way to helping abate the illegal fireworks issue. In regards to citations and fireworks, I think you guys should ask the city attorney's office how many citations they've prosecuted and how many have been dismissed, how many arrests have been made, and how many have been dismissed or prosecuted. And you need to request a history going back to 2017. You can't tell LAPD to run around handing out citations and arrests if they aren't being prosecuted. It doesn't make sense. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, speaker. I believe we have 2 more in the queue. Hi, speaker, please state your name and the items you'd like to speak on.
T, and it's for public safety.
Yes,
Hello?
which items would you like to speak on?
Public safety.
This is the Public Safety Committee. Would you like just general public comment?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you have 1 minute for general public comment. Go ahead.
We need to absolutely defund the police. The CPS program absolutely cannot work. Any implementation of reform doesn't work. So we have generational trauma of police murder, right? And we need that money to go into our communities. We need housing. We need affordable housing. We need quality health care. We need education, youth, senior, and disabled programs, food security, things of that nature. Defunding the police means putting that money in our communities and take it out of a system that's abusing and murdering our people. Any type of reform falls short every time. As a community, we're demanding that you follow our demands that's set forth by the People's Budget LA and BLM LA and other coalition members. It's very simple. Even President Mary Martini.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, speaker. Can you please state your name and items?
Sure. My name is Maria, and I am calling into, I'm reiterating everything that the previous caller said about illegal fireworks. It really needed to be an item on the agenda.
Yeah? Okay, so,
I'm sorry?
So you're just calling for general public comment?
No. This is about illegal fireworks. We asked for it to be on the agenda. It was not on the agenda. Reiterating what the other caller said, which was that we need a social host ordinance. Right now, the law requires that the police have to cite the person who set off the fireworks, and that's almost impossible to do. Being able to cite the people who own the property, which is what a social host ordinance would do, would be a huge win for the LA public if we could have that here in the city of LA. It's a really big deal. I've been working on the fireworks issue for years now. I've been working with LAPD. I've been working with SPICE. I know what I'm talking about. I've also been working with LA City Mike Fewer's office. So, I mean, that was one thing. Talking also, like the other caller had mentioned, about getting the number of citations, finding out how many people were actually arrested. I know it's vanishingly small because I've talked to the officers, but we need to track. We need data to back up what we're doing. And I really believe that if we went after this angle, we would have make a big difference. Thank you.
Okay. So, colleagues, that now concludes our general public comment. And to recommend approval of the following consent items. Items 1 through 3 and 7 and 8.
Move approval.
Thank you. Seeing no objections, are there any objections? Or, Mr. Lidd, do we have to take a roll call vote?
Very good. Councilmember Rodriguez?
Aye.
Councilmember O'Farrell?
Aye.
Councilmember Buscaino?
Aye.
Councilmember Rue?
Aye.
And Councilmember Lee?
Aye.
Okay, that approves items 1, 2, 3, 7, and 8.
Thank you so much. Colleagues, that now brings us to our first item on the agenda, which is item number 4. Mr. Clerk, if you please read that into the record.
Item number 4, Los Angeles Fire Department report in response to motion, Blumenfield, Harris Dawson, relative to the after-action review of the Woolsey Canyon fire.
Thank you, colleagues. We have been joined by LAFD, LAPD, and EMD for this item, and if you'd like to, Chief Richmond, I'll kick it over to you to start.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. I hope everyone can hear me, and honorable council members. So I think the best way to start here is give you some context on the Woolsey fire. The Woolsey fire was November 8th, 2018, approximately 2:30 in the afternoon. It was a mutual threat zone response, which means that responses from Ventura County, Los Angeles County, and Los Angeles City Fire Department all responded at the same time. This was a extreme fire weather day. Just to remind everyone, the temperature that day was 80 degrees Fahrenheit. The relative humidity was 7%, which anything below 10% is bone dry. And the winds were out of the north-northeast, typical Santa Ana wind condition, from 17 to 22 miles an hour. At the initial onset of the fire was burning anywhere from 800 to 1,000 acres per hour, which is pretty considerable fire spread, and spotting was up to quarter to a half a mile ahead of the head fire. I think it's important to recognize the enormity of this type of fire. When this fire footprint was concluded, all other fires in the Topanga area historically could have fit inside the Woolsey fire footprint, and that's pretty significant. The LAFD, at the height of the deployment, we had 10 strike teams. That's about 50 fire engines. Now, although the threat to the city of Los Angeles wasn't that significant, the eastern flank of the fire did burn into Council District 12 and Council District 3. But we had resources positioned all across that eastern flank, so very little threat to the city of Los Angeles. We achieved 100% containment on November 21st. All in all, there were 1,643 structures lost. The total acreage burned was 97,000 acres. And another statistic that you don't often hear, but I think is equally important, is there were 57,000 structures saved. So at the conclusion of the fire, under the leadership of County Supervisor Sheila Kuehl, they decided to perform an after-action review and solicit input from the community. I was directed by Fire Chief Terrazas to be a member of the Woolsey Fire Task Force and proceeded to participate in that task force for the period of about 3 months. And so what the task force did is really listen to input from the community and some of the concerns of the community members. And through a third-party contract, the LA County Board of Supervisors solicited the services of Citygate to perform an after-action review. And in the Woolsey Fire after-action review, the Citygate report came up with 86 recommendations. And satisfying the motion from Councilmember Blumenfeld, the Los Angeles City Fire Department evaluated all those recommendations and then looked for opportunities in the report to improve our operation. Now, I don't think it's important that I go through all 26 items that we found, but I would like to note two particular items that we found very interesting and very helpful to our organization. Woolsey Fire After Action Recommendation number 8 was the initiation of the TIER concept. That's an acronym that stands for Take Initiative, Engage, and Report. So incident command structures or incident command systems by their nature are very rigid. And one of the consequences of its rigidity is the lack of company autonomy. And one of the complaints that we heard very commonly from the community was as structures were burning, there were fire engines parked on roads and not doing anything. And one of the consequences of ICS is we train our people to wait until you're given an assignment, don't do anything until you're given an assignment, and the problem is you have these people waiting and not engaging. With this TIER concept, we give those companies that autonomy to take initiative, engage the problem, and then report back to your supervisor on where you are. This particular concept was included this year in our annual department brush bulletin. We do that every year. It was also included in our annual training for chief officers, and it's also included in our annual training for fire captains. So this concept of TIER has been communicated widely to all our personnel. The second item that I would like to highlight in the report is the continual problem of community alerting, specifically the wireless emergency alerting system, or known as WEA. This is a problem that I think we've got a better solution going into this fire season. Right now, with the assistance of the Emergency Management Department of Los Angeles, our dispatch center in the fire department has taken over the responsibility to generate WEA alerts. And this is really critical in the initial stages of a fire, that we get these warnings out, that we get these evacuation orders or warnings to the communities that need to have them so that they can be properly notified with enough time to get out of the way of a fire like this. So I have the opportunity to go through the WEA alerting system with our dispatch center, and I'm very confident that we've really satisfied that issue. And going into this season, I'm a lot more confident that there'll be less latency and from the onset of the fire to the first wireless emergency alert. So with that, that's my presentation. I'm available to answer any questions about the report you may have.
Thank you, Chief. And I know with every incident, we learn more. And unfortunately, with so much frequency, we a great deal and continue to refine our process with respect to all aspects of dealing with these major wildfires. And I want to thank you and of course, the EMD, and everyone that has been so learning for all of us to change. We discover that there's flaws in the way that our protocols are. We're just, we continue to learn more and evolve in our process. And it's a call for everyone to learn. We have not, we have not achieved perfection in any way, shape, or form, and it doesn't apply just to how our response to wildfires. I think it's in all aspects of business in the city, and so we're always in a constant effort to address the concerns. And so I want to thank you for this information. I do want to talk about, and there was a couple of different areas, but I think you covered it pretty comprehensively. I wanted to ask a question with respect to recommendations 64 and 66 and the conduct of repopulation training for all agencies. If you could kind of just give us some overview. And the most difficult part is obviously our ability to communicate consistently and often they get misinformation, and unfortunately, just become wildly familiar with that process in my district. But what are some of the lessons and methods of remaining in communication with the public in terms of repopulation?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Excellent question. Repopulation continues to be a challenge for us. Quite often, when the smoke is gone and the fire's gone, people want to go home. What they don't understand is there are still safety hazards in the neighborhood. There might be wires down. There might be road barriers that are burned. So we need to make the area safe before they can return home. So we struggle with repopulation efforts. One of the things that we have gotten much better at it under the leadership of Chief Terrazas is this crisis management cycle where improvisation is key. And you don't want to put yourself in a box and always say every incident requires this measure that you take. Every incident, you need to maintain flexibility. And one of the things that we did during the Woolsey fire, and we also did during the Saddle Ridge fire with regard to repopulation, is we built repopulation teams. And the teams were comprised of a member of the fire department, a member of the police department, a member of the local affected council district, and then a member of a variety of NGOs like Red Cross or My Safe LA. And the purpose was to put these people in the cul-de-sacs as people came home and be available to answer questions. We really feel strongly that this environment is very susceptible to being taught about community resiliency. They just evacuated their home. During the Saddle Ridge fire, we were able to hand out literature on preparing yourself for evacuation. What we find very often is not a lot of people are prepared to evacuate. So we provide this literature to them, and we in the council staff there is there to help if the structure was burned. Where do I start the new building permit process? How do I get my foundation inspected? And so the council staff was there to facilitate that. So really, we're bringing the local area emergency center into the field with the community, serving the community right at the feet of the community. And we found that this was very, very effective. In fact, the model that we developed during the Woolsey fire and then enhanced during the Saddle Ridge fire is being looked at by the state of California as a model to implement statewide. So we're really on the leading edge of repopulation efforts. Our relationship with LAPD has never been as strong as it is right now. And I'm confident every season going forward, we will get better and better.
Thank you, Chief. Colleagues, are there any questions? No? Drew? I can't barely see you. Okay. Well, thank you. I think we've covered it, Chief. I think you did an outstanding job. I want to thank, of course, our partners in all of this, LAPD and EMD for their work. This has been a seamless, cooperative effort to help refine our process with every lesson that we've learned. And we'll be just another lesson, tough ones, but there are. But thank you very much, Chief. Colleagues, I'd like to recommend that we note and file this report. Mr. Clerk, if you please call the roll.
Councilmember Rodriguez?
Aye.
Councilmember O'Farrell?
Aye.
Councilmember Buscaino?
Aye.
Councilmember Ryu?
Aye.
Councilmember Lee?
Aye.
Very good.
Terrific. Thank you all very much. That now brings us to item number 5 on today's agenda. Mr. Clerk?
Item number 5, LAFD report response to motion Rodriguez Buscaino relative to the LAFD's review of its youth development programs.
Thank you. Chief Larson, good to see you.
Good to see you, Madam President. Thank you.
So I'm going to go ahead and allow you to give a real brief overview on the youth programming that we have operating in the LAFD Fire Department.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Greetings, council members. The report that was dated is a little bit old, so there's a lot of things that we have done since the report was finalized that you have. Some of the main things that we have been working on are partnering with the Boy Scouts of America, Learning for Life, so that we could get all of our cadets and our youth trained to a certain level, and it affords them youth protection training, it affords them insurance, and it standardizes the process, especially when we introduce new cadets. Our paperwork challenge was great for our cadet advisors, so this makes sure that all that accountability is taken into account. And we've been working very hard to develop a progressive pathway for our youth, because we know that they have various opportunities and developmental abilities. And so developing a progressive pathway for them from the girls' camp through the youth fire programs, the high school magnets, and then as our top tier, the cadets, and hopefully in the not too distant future, our ambulance operator program. All have been standardized and revised to make sure that they're keeping current with the standards. And we were going along at a wonderful clip until COVID hit. So with the suspension of the youth allowed in the fire stations, we've had to suspend those programs just as we were getting ready to start our spring programs. We've had about 135 participants at the girls' camps that we did in 2019. And as we've gone through, we're seeing more and more of the kids participate in multiple programs. We have about 40% of the kids that have participated in multiple programs, and we've had about a 20% participation of females in all of our youth programs, which is outstanding. Most of our highest numbers obviously are within our high school magnet programs. So we're encouraged that not only have we started to develop progressive pathways, but that we continue to be a very much in-demand program that is advertised on our Join LAFD website and has its own youth programs tab, so there's ways for them to understand what each program is and how to become involved in those programs. And the continued participation and demand is honestly off the charts. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. And colleagues, I want to frame, obviously, many of you are well familiar with my passion with respect to youth programs in the city, how we need to be more focused in aligning it with metrics to demonstrate the success and the efficacy of these programs. But I have a particularly special affinity with respect to fire academy programs, because my father and my father started the fire academy program when he was an LA firefighter, and also, the fire academy program, which was active at 4 different community colleges and attracted the participation of thousands of youth across the city, but also developed a curriculum that is still being implemented and utilized today. Much of what my interest in this is to make sure that everything that we do, and when we talk about youth engagement in the city, that we're not restricting the opportunities from those that are apparently deemed to be best positioned to necessarily just become firefighters. This is an opportunity to use, just as with the any other internship or cadet program, it's an opportunity for us to engage youth in a way that perhaps motivates them for possibilities in their future careers. The disciplines that are derived in the lessons of learning about the fire service or, police service, or, they transcend those industries. And so want to make sure that we're doing everything possible to expand those opportunities for our youth in this city. And it's not an insider knowledge, but we're doing all that we can to expand these opportunities across the city for youth that may not even have a connection to the fire department. And so these are all very important opportunities for us to reflect and engage on our youth programming in the city. And again, there's so many different departments in the city that touch youth programs that I think it's important for us to engage in this conversation, particularly with respect to this public safety lens. And so, Chief, just and the programs are very different, but with respect to the, you mentioned that shift in going, I feel like it's a revisit or a reintroduction of the Boy Scouts of America, because they were part of the Explorer program. They were the sponsors of the Explorer program before that helped to cover the insurance and the associated, all the benefits that came with that. My question is with respect to the aging out of the cadet program. I know that, for example, the police department had a very robust engagement or reflection on the aging of the students that were able to participate, and that at 18 they aged out many of the youth just because of the interaction of adults versus youth. Is that something that the department has reflected on with respect to our cadet program?
Absolutely. So our cadets can participate up to the age of 20. If they still desire to be part of the program after that, we transition them to a retired status as a cadet, and we offer them the opportunity to become an associate post advisor and offer them adult youth protection training so that they're know how to work with youth. That's also provided for free of charge through the Boy Scouts of America. And then we also have an opportunity, while it's not considered a youth program per se, we also have our Crew 3, which is a volunteer wildland hand crew, and that is another way that they can transition and still be a part of the department and continue on their skills in fire safety and firefighting before going to college or something like that. But we've worked with that, and we've put those protections in there for the adult transition to the youth protection training.
Is there a reason why it's at 20 years of age and not 18 so that we can better align? Just because at that point you have adults intermingling with youth, with underage youth, and I know that was some of the rationale behind why the police department did that. Has there been any further discussion on that?
There hasn't been, but I can look into that.
I think that would be helpful. Just so that we're consistent, policy-wise, I think it would be a good way of being consistent. And again, the goal for me personally, what I would like to see is when we talk about 26 different departments in the city of Los Angeles that touch youth programming, but not a singular oversight body. These are some of the ways that we can start to help further align, how we service youth in the city of Los Angeles. And the Fire Academy, like I said, I have a deep passion for the Fire Academy programs and the cadet programs, and I just want to make sure that we are doing all that we can to be consistent, even when they're operating amongst different departments. I think that would be important. Can you talk to me a little bit about the application process? You talked, we have the different points of entry, if you will, whether we talk about the girls camp, the Youth Fire Academy program, and the cadet program. And I have a little bit of heartburn every time I hear the word standards. So, because I believe everybody can aspire and work towards achieving, standards in the department have evolved over the course of time, and there have been time and time again proven that we continue to refine what that looks like. And if we created a standard in the NBA, we wouldn't have ever seen someone like Spud Webb. So I want to make sure that we're being reflective very thoughtfully about keeping as open of a door as possible for everyone to achieve that ideal for themselves. So could you talk to me a little bit about how they can matriculate into the cadet program and what that application process is?
Right. So each of the different youth programs, we have different ways of getting in. And I apologize if I misspoke. The programs themselves have been standardized as far as their curriculum and their development, but there is everybody is open to the opportunity. So for example, Girls Camp, we partner with the council district that's going to hold that camp, give the local high schools in that area a chance to enroll before the general public, but that is open to everybody on Eventbrite. Our youth fire programs are usually word of mouth, but we also advertise those at the girls' camp, as well as the cadet program and the high school magnet programs. So obviously, if you live in an area that has a high school magnet, you are obviously able to join there. The youth fire programs are word of mouth, mostly because they're so popular and have been. So those youth academies are generally full with wait lists, and everybody's encouraged to apply. The standardization that we did with the cadet program was just that we took the training, the standard training, the entrance exam, and we run that from our firefighter recruitment section, because what we were finding out is that the cadet post advisors, they're great trainers, they're not good with paperwork. So we took that paperwork off of them, so we will be able to say, hey, we're going to get 30 people together, we're going to standardize their training, give them all the same information, make sure we get their paperwork, and as soon as we get all their paperwork, they're handed off to that fire station and that cadet post for their continual training and moving through the levels of the cadet program.
So then what is there a specific set of criteria for eligibility in that application process?
The eligibility for the cadets are 14 and in high school. So what we do is if we have kids that are on the 14-year-old age, we try to steer them towards the youth fire program first so that they get a little bit of the basic knowledge, skills, and abilities that will make them more successful as they go into the cadet field, because there are more stringent requirements of being in the cadet program as you level up with different basic exams. Proficiency exercise, physical training requirements, ladders and hose lay knowledge and manipulation. So it's just designed to improve their success.
Got it. And then in terms of the budget, what's the budget allocated for each of these efforts?
So a youth fire program costs us about $40,000 per camp. We do 2 metro camps, 1 harbor camp, and 1 valley camp right now. It costs us about $39,000 for girls camp. We do a lot of the budgeting with uniforms through the Fire Foundation. So for the participants in the camp, there is no cost to them. What we use is V hours to pay our staff, so that's where the biggest budget allocation comes. It's just ensuring that on an annual basis I have enough V hours to support the programs that we have in place.
Thank you. Colleagues, I want to go ahead and allow you all the opportunity. Mr. O'Farrell?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chief, always good to see you. Chief Larson, thank you so much for your report. Madam Chair, thanks for your leadership on this. Youth development programs are terrific anywhere, and especially in the LAFD. So it's really wonderful to hear all of this information. Just wondering if there is a special push for outreach to Black youth.
Our Metro Fire Academy is run by mostly Black sworn members. Ironically, when I was looking through the most latest board report, which was the one presented afterward, our largest participation group is Hispanic. So we will be doing more outreach into the African American community to see if we can get more participation. That is something that's been lagging, and it's also noticed in our actual hiring process as well.
Thank you. Thank you. That's really great. There was a mention earlier about folks youth who may not even feel that there's an opportunity for them to belong. So I think this is important. Historically neglected or overlooked communities or marginalized communities. And another one of them is, you talk about girls' camps and, boys and girls. There's also the whole sort of gender non-conforming youth awareness. So is there a space just for kids that might want to hear the signal that they're welcome as well, even if they don't necessarily identify as a boy or a girl?
Absolutely. We've had 3 boys participate in girls' camp. We don't make a big issue of it. We take every child as they are, and we make no comparisons to each other. We're asking them to be the best person that they can be, whoever they are, and it's reinforced through just the positive interaction that they get with the staff and the firefighters.
That's great. I think that's a great message to send, that all kids are welcome, no matter race or identity. So that's really great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. O'Farrell. Mr. Lee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chief, I just want to say that, out of Fire Station 106, we have a really great cadet program, something that I'm very, very proud of. Visited with them. But as I look at the numbers, it's, I'm glad to hear about the girls' camp because we are so underrepresented at the cadet side. I probably equal to what the percentage is citywide. So just want, be out there that Council District 12, I didn't even know we had this program. We would love to sponsor a girls' camp when times are different in our area, because I think that it's extremely important. And I like learning about this Train to Hire program, because when I spoke to 106 and the cadets about the Train to Hire program, because I think we recently approved some positions in the Personnel Committee, there didn't seem to be much awareness about it. And I would love to, make sure that all of our cadet programs are understanding that that's something that's open to all of them, because I think we had some great people that are going to make some really great City of Los Angeles future firefighters. And so,
right. So the cadet program offers those cadets a lot of opportunities. It offers them the opportunity to go to our Del Val training, which is a partnership with LA County for a 2-day training event. It also lets them go to CIFA, which is a week-long cadet fire exploring academy. So those opportunities are available to them. And it took us a while to get all the Train to Hire program stuff because there was no job classification before. So we had to start from the beginning and write the job classification. So as that has now been approved, we're working to develop the procedures and the policies and the actual day-to-day workings of what those people will look like once they get into the stations. All that stuff was pushed out through one of our captains who's in charge of managing the cadets. And we didn't want to put too much out there until we got it finalized, because we didn't want to get their hopes up and then not have the program get approved or get funded. So now that has happened, we're working to develop those job duties. So once COVID is over with and cadets are actually allowed back in the fire station, we'll be able to approve this opportunity for them. And I will say that part of that Train to Hire will be that they have to be an EMT. So, one of the advantages of being a cadet is also that we will sponsor you for a fire academy, and we will sponsor you for paramedic school, not EMT school right now. But the cost is borne by the cadet, but because of our relationships with the schools, we have a direct line to get them basically jump the line so that they can get into a fire academy ahead of somebody that might be on a wait list, because we've developed those relationships with the local fire academies.
That's great. Well, thanks, Chief. I appreciate all your hard work on this.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Were there any other questions? No? We're good? Thanks. Chief, again, if I could get some follow-up and just separately, we can just discuss aligning, as I mentioned, with the LAPD reaching out. I think that's an important conversation to have. But I want to thank you for your participation today. Again, I think there's going to be a lot of work as we discuss youth development programs, our investments in youth, and this is an important part of, it's not necessarily should be always considered a strict recruitment tool, but it's certainly one that could serve as a motivating factor. As I said, the discipline and lessons that are derived from engaging in programs like this can, provide lessons that transcend, work in fire service, the discipline, the work ethic, the understanding, the different pieces that go into work in the fire service I think those are leadership lessons and examples that would benefit any, regardless of what career they pursue. So we want to make sure that we're doing what we can to leverage this as an opportunity, not just to consider it and reflect on as a recruitment effort, but more so as an opportunity to give youth that needs inspiration, some motivation, and some discipline. I think would be greatly valued for them in putting them on a more productive pathway going forward. So, with that, I'd like to thank you, Chief, and thank you, colleagues. I'd like to recommend that we note and file this report, and please call the roll.
Very good.
Chief Parson, can you make a commitment that when we're recruiting these young women, make sure they don't go to the LA County Fire Department? Okay.
Well, that's a whole other process is something totally different. But, Commissioner Glazer is very adamant that, these programs, even if we don't make firefighters, we're making good citizens out of these young adults.
Right.
So, I would love to get all the women. I would love to get us to our 5% goal of women. We're at 3.6% now, and hopefully in the next, few years as we continue the hiring, we can raise that number. And hopefully, like the fire chief has thought, that, we attract some of the young youth that live in the city of Los Angeles. That would be great.
It just killed me when I was mentoring kids at LAPD. Next thing you know, they're applying to Corn PD. We put so much time and effort. But
Yeah.
in the long run, make a difference.
Trust me, no one wants to apply for LA County Fire. They want to be LA City firefighters.
They do want to be LA City. We are the varsity. We love it.
Okay, for the roll call, Councilmember Rodriguez,
Aye.
Councilmember O'Farrell,
Aye.
Councilmember Buscaino,
Aye.
Councilmember Rue,
Aye.
and Councilmember Lee.
Aye.
Very good. That's note and file for item number 5.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Now we will call item number 6, please. Mr. Clerk, item number 6.
Item number 6, Los Angeles Police Department report relative to additional recommendations on reported hate crimes and religious, ethnic, and racially motivated violence.
Thank you, Mr. Rue. I'll go ahead and turn it over to you since this is your motion. David, we can't hear you.
Oh, sorry about that, Madam Chair. I want to thank the department. I do have a few questions, but I first wanted to thank the department for putting this report together, and I want to commend them for posting a list of organizations and resources for victims of hate crimes on their website, on the LAPD website, as well as an information on security assessments. Is the department present? Can I ask a few questions?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
I see Officer Martinez.
Great.
I am here.
Thank you, Officer Martinez. So I wanted to ask, can you tell us a little bit more about the software's problems with the regional public-private infrastructure collaboration system?
So that one is run by Major Crimes Division, and I don't believe that they have the funding or the update to keep that one running. That was a good mesh of public and private, but it wouldn't be able to do what you were asking for of different aggregates and location-based alerts like you had requested.
Mm-hmm. Okay. But the report does mention that Major Crimes Division is working with LAPD's Information and Technology Division on a plan to upgrade to a security standard that is more modern. Can you tell us a little bit about that plan and what it entails?
I cannot, sir. I'm not assigned to Major Crimes Division. However, what I've been looking at is the Nixle software that we do have, which is very similar to what that software can do also. we have that Nixle software through the City of LA, the emergency management section. We already have contract or licenses to use that, and I've spoken with the head of our application development division, and she is going to schedule a meeting with the executives instead of the sales team, the executives, to see if Nixle is willing to make a workaround for us with what we want, location-based, different aggregates, so we can filter out by if they're a NGO, if they're a school, the different protected characteristics. That way we're not doing group messages, we're not doing, we're only targeting the audience that we want. One of the things that we're worried about is if we overshare and blast everything to everybody, then when we put out critical information, they may have already muted us at that point, and they won't receive it.
Agreed. And, you know, and that's why that's one of the benefits of the CSI program, or the Community Security Initiative, where they can target those vulnerable areas and programs. So I guess right now, using Nixle, we're not able to target yet, right?
That is correct. It doesn't exist in the format of what the CSI has. Now, they created that because they could not find a product for it. They've created it. They will eventually be able to license their, or they're working towards eventually licensing their proprietary information for use. It's just not available at this time. So at LAPD, we have two options. We can make it on our own, or we can hire an outside vendor to do it for us. To give you an example, the CSI, they hired someone to write the program for them, and they have about 2,500 registries, and they're at about $250,000 a year. Now, for the city of LA, I mean, that's a tiny little fraction of what they handle. So you can see how much exponentially the cost could increase if we're doing all of the 9 protected characteristics. We're doing the entire city. We do have people on staff that can write programs. Our ITD, our Information Technology Bureau, they have 30% less people now, or 30% of your spots are not filled. So we just don't have the bodies that, or they don't have the bodies that they would like. We only have one person left that writes code. And another problem that they had is they do stuff for intranet, interdepartmental. If we wanted to have it where it's available on the outside, our guys and gals are not good at outside security. We would have to hire a vendor anyways, because once the LAPD puts something out, it would be targeted. We're good at protecting our intranet for our programs, but this one would be outside available, and our folks are not experienced in that. So that's one of the issues that they brought up to me. And then, as I said, the Nixle plan, the city of LA already belongs to it, already has a subscription. It just doesn't do what we want. Now, if there's a way to get them to do it for us, I'm assuming it's Emergency Services Division that generated that contract. It was not the LAPD. We have a license through EMS. But finding a way for them or somebody else, another vendor, to create it from scratch. So, a long-winded answer to, we don't have that option now. At this moment, I have 3 social media accounts. I'm putting out the information. Anybody can subscribe. Anybody can look. But don't have anything location-based targeting, anything protected characteristic targeting, and nothing that's tied in with the 911 system where it is real time.
Okay. Well, I think you just alluded to exactly what my next direction was going to be. I do have a recommendation, but I do have, because obviously, like the Jewish Federation's Community Security Initiative already has this capability, and obviously I want you to look into that as well and see how we could collaborate. But one last question is, before I make that recommendation, Madam Chair, is, what's the current process of hate crimes coordinator has to follow to release a hate crime information through a NIXL? And how long does it take? Is there even a process, actually? Maybe that's the first question.
Okay, so the way that NIXL works is it's a subscription service. So a person, if I wanted to receive, or I'll start at the beginning. Each division has its own NIXL account for their area. So if I wanted to receive alerts from LAPD Hollywood, I would send a request to the LAPD Hollywood NIXL account, and they would accept me. Now, for the hate crime coordinator, for me, if I had a hate crime that was affecting Hollywood, West LA, and Olympic, I would notify those area hate crime or NIXL coordinators, and then they would put the information out. But it wouldn't be targeted at any specific group. It would be targeted at whoever's registered for that division.
Okay. Thank you for that. So, Madam Chair, I should have actually opened up with what this was. And, this is we asked the LAPD to report on relative, on additional recommendations on reported hate crimes and religious, ethnic, and racially motivated violence, as well as asking LAPD to compile a list of organizations for placement on the LAPD victims website, which they did do, to include contact information for LAPD security assessment on hate crime selection, and to report on the feasibility of developing a citywide communication tools to serve as a single point of contact to coordinate and share all this information to prevent hate crimes. So, Madam Chair, I have a recommendation, if I could read it in.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr.
Okay, so first I'd like to note and file the LAPD report dated 5/28/20, and also instruct LAPD to continue working with Council District, with my office, and the Jewish Federation of Los Angeles to report back in 120 days on a development of a citywide communication tool operationally that's similar to the Jewish Federation's Community Security Initiative that serves as a single point of contact for critical coordination and information sharing to serve as a conduit for proactive hate crime prevention, and B, the funding needed for the development and implementation of such a program.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rue. I want to go ahead and allow our colleagues an opportunity also, if they had any questions for Officer Martinez. I did want to add, Officer Martinez, just one recommendation, and I do want to thank you and thank the department for reporting back on this item today. In the process, there was an update of the website that includes a list of organizations that serve as resources for individuals that have experienced hate crime. I know that list was recently updated, but given the large percentage of Latinos in the city of Los Angeles, I wanted to advise the additional inclusion of other organizations that would serve as a resource for those that have experienced that in the community, given that we have such a large percentage of community organizations that serve also in that role. And I wanted to recommend the inclusion of these organizations that I want to recommend to you at this time, which include MALDEF, the Mexican American Legal Defense and Education Fund, Garrison, NALEO, the National Association of Latino Elected and Appointed Officials, the Mexican American Opportunities Foundation, which is MAOF, as well as the Mexican American Bar Association. So I'd like to recommend the inclusion of those agencies as well. And thank you again. Appreciate your participation today. Colleagues, Mr. O'Farrell or Mr. Luceno or Lee, did you have any questions? No? Mr. O'Farrell.
Thank you, Mr. Rue and Madam Chair. Is the LGBT Los Angeles Center also on that list for inclusion?
Yes, I believe that they're already on the list.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah, just Mr. O'Farrell, just to answer your question, there's the LA Gay and Lesbian Center Anti-Violence Project, as well as the Transgender Law Center and the LA Gay, LGBTQ Safety Resource List. Thank you for that question. And thank you, colleagues. So with that, we want to take a vote on Mr. Rue's recommendation, please. Mr. Clerk, if you please call the roll.
Councilmember Rodriguez?
Aye.
Councilmember O'Farrell?
Aye.
Councilmember Buscaino?
Aye.
Councilmember Rue?
Aye.
Councilmember Lee?
Aye.
Very good. Approved as amended.
Thank you. And that report is noted in file. Thank you very much. And so, Mr. Clerk, if you please call item number 9 on our agenda.
Item number 9, motion Rodriguez O'Farrell relative to peer intervention programs and related peer intervention training within the Los Angeles Police Department. This matter has also been referred to the Ad Hoc Committee on Police Reform.
Thank you so much, Chief Baeza. It's good to see you virtually.
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me, Madam Chair?
Yes, we can hear you fine. Thank you so much for joining. And colleagues, and I'm sure Mr. Buscaino will provide ample insights for us, given his experience serving as a Los Angeles police officer. But colleagues, this is about an opportunity for obviously, we're in a multitude of conversations around reflecting on our practice with respect to our Los Angeles Police Department. But as I mentioned earlier, with respect to how we tend to wildfire situations, every opportunity presents itself as an opportunity for us to reflect and revise how we do business here in the city, how we conduct ourselves. And each opportunity presents us with it's a moment to learn, adapt, and evolve. And, we've seen so many different accounts, and, not necessarily here in Los Angeles, but across the country, but I think it serves as an opportunity for us to engage in this very important conversation around officer accountability and preventing excessive and unnecessary use of force through intervention as peers. And I, obviously, I don't have the experience of Mr. Buscaino, who served in his role so honorably as a police officer, but I do want to better ascertain what protections are offered that allow a peer to intervene in an incident where there is excessive use of force that will allow the peer to actually do so without potential fear of retribution, or just enabling how do we better facilitate that type of better environment for officers to make different decisions in circumstances and not be complicit, potentially with acts that they were directly engaged in. So with that, Chief, I just want to make sure that, I know that we're all committed to assuring that we have a culture that elicits the best practice, and I just want to get further insight as to how that operates today with respect to use of force.
Well, first of all, thank you, Madam Chair, and good afternoon, council members. First of all, I'm Martin Barriga, and I'm the commanding officer of Personnel and Training Bureau. And one of the things that we are looking at right now in regards to accountability, intervention, and also what we're calling active bystandership is really looking at a meaningful, sustainable way to continue to improve the Los Angeles Police Department. I think we would all agree that, and you said it, Madam Chair, in regards to best practices and how we go about looking at that. So as we're looking at this and we're in the infancy stage of the research, I think the best way that we're going about it and working with the Director of Police Training and Education, which is Dr. Pannell, who is actually actively engaged in procedural justice from inside out training that we're launching this week that actually has a block on active bystandership. We're looking at ourselves in regards to where we are, and I just kind of want to give you a little bit of a snapshot as to where we are and where we're going, and what we're looking in trying to address these issues. First of all, in the academy, we have a team concept that is right in line with the active bystandership and the principles, which is taking action, making sure that we're trying to prevent our partners from making mistakes, whether it has to do with excessive force, health, well-being, or just in the support arena of just being an officer. That's where step one starts. Most of our training and all of our training within the academy is scenario-based, where we have scenarios where we have officers role play and then interject themselves into situations that seem to be going down a path that we don't want them to go. The other thing that we're developing too is, as we've made adjustments to meet some of the new laws that are affecting use of force policies, we're also incorporating intervention and interjecting ourselves into the use of force, and whether we see things going down a path that we are not happy with. Currently, we're in the process of also looking at all our curriculums, but I have to kind of preface it by saying that due to COVID, 95% of our training has stopped, minus the academy, some command and control, and our FTO that we have to meet the mandates. So this is our opportunity to look at our curriculums and see where we can enhance existing curriculum to interject active bystandership, which means you interject yourself, you stop a partner, or you take the appropriate action to not let a situation, get to where it's going. We have launched this week a training called Procedural Justice from Inside and Out, and the Chief of Police talked about this, which is also part of a wellness talks that we're having with our officers that are addressing several issues: race relations, how our actions impact the community, and also what responsibility we have to intervene, and something as the interjection by words and your actions, how that has an impact on the community itself. And we launched that as recently as yesterday, and we have 4 classes going today. So that's kind of where we're at right now in looking, but in looking forward, we are also looking at what's available. We've reached out to actually a couple of entities. One of them is Georgetown University, that has a program called Active Bystandership that they partnered with a law firm in May of 2020 to create a program that's housed out of their innovative policing department that addresses active bystandership, which talks about and looks at decades of research of how meaningful active bystandership training helps prevent misconduct, reduces mistakes, and also promotes health and wellness. It's not a disciplinary program in regards to if you do this is going to be the ramifications or protections, but it's really about the philosophy and how to intervene, interject, and prevent. And because it's so difficult, when it's done correctly, there's no measurable way, because nothing really happened, to quantify it. We're taking a look at what these programs have to offer. We've also made connection with the New Orleans Police Department, Deirdre Houston, who's the academic director, who's the equivalent of Dr. Luann Pinnell for LAPD. And they have what's called the EPIC program, which stands for Ethical Policing is Courageous. And it is an active bystandership program that talks about several issues in regards to passive bystandership versus active bystandership, what the ramifications are, what the conventional rules are, how humanizing others looks like versus devaluating others, and also looking at industry outside of law enforcement that have these programs, like the airline industry, the medical industry, how you can be an active bystander in stopping potential corruption, potential excessive force, and even interjecting yourself when you see a partner going down a path that is not healthy, and so on. So in moving forward, this is where we are right now in looking at this topic in training. But as the training chief, one of the things that I'm always looking at is, one, constant improvement, making sure that the training is meaningful and that it's just not a training that is just going to check a box because of a request, something that is sustainable, a training that is going to be sustainable throughout the year, and that it's going to be integrated throughout the department and not just one standalone training where we had it and then we don't revisit it, but to continue to integrate it through our curriculums. That's the reason that we start at the beginning of examining ourselves. In regards to this whole process, I think the discussion still has to be had in regards to, and you mentioned it, Madam Chair, in regards to what protections do officers have when they come forward, when they interject themselves in a visible way in regard to retaliation. And that is something that needs to be looked at, researched, policy needs to be developed, and protections definitely need to be part of this overall umbrella picture of not only the training, but also in shifting and improving the LAPD from where we are today and enhancing the programs where we move forward. And that in a nutshell is, I tried to be brief, but this is kind of where we're moving forward and looking at ourselves, researching, and how we can implement this. And then I also have to take a look, you know, like I said, the challenges that we do have ahead of us. And the number one challenge right now that I have in training is COVID. You know, how do we safely train, 9,900 officers and, 3,000 civilian employees, the best way we can with the safe hygiene protocols in order to address those issues. So that's all I have. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you for blessing that allows us to take a pause and reflect on how we can adapt the training so that we have, the best next practice, perhaps, in how to better implement these types of reforms. Colleagues, are there any questions for Chief?
Yeah, if I can, Madam Chair. Thanks for hearing this item. When I, first saw the motion be introduced, I was just couldn't stop thinking about the partner officers there. The officer had his neck stuck in George Floyd's that incident. It's like I was like watching it and just anxiously saying, "Okay, partner officer, someone's got to step in. Someone's got to step in. He's losing his life. He's losing his pulse." And I guess there's a recent video that showed the entire video in its entirety where there's a partner officer saying, "Well, I think he's losing consciousness." So it was very frustrating. But at the same time, I'm also reminded that within our police department, and Deputy and Chief Baeza, if you could just hit on this, the importance of the systems, the risk management systems that we have in place today. I'm often reminded of Teams 1, Teams 2, can you just share with us, briefly how the teams can identify some of the officers who don't take that further step in calling out partner officers who do the wrong thing?
Absolutely. As you mentioned, the team system is it's a program that we look at, that we have, that really tracks, the officer's career, which also includes the disciplinary system. And it also has different thresholds in regards to different behaviors, ratings, training and qualification.
Teams came out of the consent decree, right, Chief?
Correct, and it came out of the consent decree in order to assist us in this specific topic in identifying officers that may have a propensity for behaviors that need attention. So once it meets a certain threshold, if an alert is sent out in regards to the commanding officers to be able to investigate, it's called an action item, in order to investigate the threshold, whether the threshold is you have too many complaints in regards to, let's say, discourtesy, excessive force, out of policy, uses of force, different types of characteristics or behaviors, and it'll send out action items to be investigated a little bit deeper. You're absolutely right, Councilman. It came out of the consent decree, and a lot of mandates in regards to best practices, and even what I'm talking about in regards to active bystandership. We did engage a PhD, Dr. Stewart, I believe is how it's pronounced. I might be butchering his name a little bit. That helped in developing training in regards to how we integrate training in order for officers to intervene and to be active as opposed to passive when it comes to when they see things like that. So we have the training mechanism, we have the tracking mechanism, and so we just need to continue to build on it. And like you said, and we may have, I think in some of my conversations in regards to it, this is a continued opportunity to enhance and improve and to move forward into the future so that we can best serve the citizens of Los Angeles.
Of our core value of quality through continuous improvement. And we have, is there a learning domain today in the police academy on peer intervention?
Well, the learning domains, right off the top of my head, I couldn't give you the learning domain, but the way that the academy has been re-engineered, it's an integrated academy now. It's no longer the way that you and I went through the academy where we had a learning domain on law and on ethics. It's all integrated because that's the way life is. Life is integrated. So as we use these scenarios, we integrate situations where officers' responsibilities are to intervene as part of the process. So that is also that's inside the scenario-based training that we have.
So it does exist today in the police academy.
It does, and actually. This philosophy has been revamped, and like I said, as we teach in teams, which is in conjunction with the philosophies of being active and interjecting and being an active bystander, these philosophies have been in the academy for the last 12 years.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam President. Madam Chair.
I just got promoted. Thank you. I'll take it. Colleagues, are there any other questions? Ms. Trocro, did you have a question? No, you're good?
I'm good. Congratulations on your promotion.
Thank you. Chief, thank you so much. I look forward to, seeing a deeper dive on this when you have more time to do more work on this motion. But just like anything else, I think, to make a core value of an institution, it requires not just the training and the initial introduction through the academy, but it needs to be something that is a repeated, reminder that everyone needs to embrace. Oftentimes there's, and it's cultural shifts are hard. And I think there's, like I said, it's not reflective in any one particular department. I think you see different circumstances across the board. Our goal is to be the best. And to be the greatest and best example of what policing, community policing looks like here in Los Angeles. To ensure that our officers have the freedom and, operate without fear from retribution should they call out bad behavior. Because the best tool in combating misconduct is the colleagues that are witnessing it. And I think it's really important for us to remember that. And that is true not just in the police department, it's true in any field, whether the it's elected officials, it doesn't matter. We need to speak, freely and honestly about the things that we're witnessing so that we can correct it and address it. The public deserves it, and in order to create that culture shift, I think we need to make sure that we're doing all that we can to support everyone's embracing it and to model the very best example of that. So I want to thank you for your presentation today and just giving me some insight as a kind of a primer to what will continue to come. And I think, again, the mixed blessing of COVID is going to allow you the time and the opportunity for us to further refine that process so that when we have the next academy class and as we continue to go forward and review any other reforms that are implemented that will continue to advance this. So I want to thank you very much. And with that, thank you. With that, colleagues, I'd like to go ahead make the recommendation to approve the motion. And Mr. Clerk, if you please call the roll.
Very good. Councilmember Rodriguez?
Aye.
Councilmember O'Farrell?
Aye.
Councilmember Buscaino?
Aye.
Councilmember Rue?
Aye.
Councilmember Lee?
Aye.
Very good. The motion is approved.
Terrific. Thank you very much. And Mr. Clerk, I believe we have clear items on the desk.
Yes, we have, Madam Chair. The desk is clear.
Terrific, colleagues. Thank you all very much. Our meeting.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.